Hey everybody, welcome back to the SuperBake podcast. I'm your host, Baker. Let's talk about stuff. Hello and welcome back, everybody. So, today, talking about The Witcher Season 2, Episode 7, Voleth Mare, I think is how you pronounce the name. So, so just, damn, this episode left the Witcher season, or on the last episode of the Witcher season, it's definitely shaping up to be a hell of a showdown. Episode 7 has certainly raised the stakes of the series and has left me excited for the season finale. This episode picks up with Yen and Ciri near Sintra. We get a brief moment where Yen tries to use Ciri's powers to raise a bridge in a river that's fallen down, but Ciri is unable to perform the task and becomes frustrated. And in this scene, we kind of get to see that her powers seem to manifest more when she gets upset. So it looks like when she gets angry, she teleports the two inadvertently across the river, which kind of works in their favor anyway. So it's kind of a funny, I don't know if that was supposed to be intentionally funny, but I thought that was pretty good. Not long after that, the two come into contact. They actually come into physical contact, and Ciri is actually able to have a telepathic moment with Yen, and she discovers that Yen is planning to hand her over to that mysterious old witch lady. Okay, seriously, what are the limits of Ciri's powers? That's something that I kind of keep wondering about. It seems like she just kind of has, she can do anything, so it's just interesting. Yen seems to have a change of heart, and she tells Ciri to run away if she wants to. Ciri gets upset and screams and causes the ground to split into two, basically, which alerts some nearby guards or Nilfgaardian soldiers in this tower. So I feel like Ciri has every superpower at this point, except maybe super strength, but who knows? There's still one more episode left, so maybe we'll see her hurling boulders at people. That'd be funny. Incredible Hulk Ciri. No, just saying, it could happen. Meanwhile, we're treated to a tender reunion between Geralt and Jaskier, the latter of whom is being held prisoner and has joined an a cappella of mice. I like this scene a lot. Just seeing Jaskier to pretend to coach the mice on singing and then giving them little names, nicknames like George and stuff, and then also annoying the guard. That was a particular highlight for me this episode. Geralt and Jaskier quickly reunite with a familiar face from Season 1 as well, the dwarf Yarpen Zigrin, the dwarf warrior from Season 1. That we saw go on an expedition with them. He, along with several other dwarf warriors, agree to help Geralt and Jaskier rescue Ciri. Another highlight for me is when Jaskier states that he has no recollection of any of these people, despite their previous travels together in the first season. Jaskier cracks me up. He's such a douchebag. He kills me. Geralt eventually catches up with Yen and Ciri and actually raises his sword to Yen's throat, which was a pretty surprising moment given their history together and how much he cares about her. Just kind of seeing his obvious feelings towards her, I think this was definitely interesting. I guess it makes sense, though. He probably feels this great betrayal from her character, so I suppose this isn't super out of the question for him to do. However, it is revealed that the old witch that we've been seeing throughout this season that's been manipulating everyone behind the scenes has apparently fed off enough misery from both Yen, Francesca, and Frangilla's characters to, I guess, fully resurrect. Her spirit flies off and appears to possess Ciri while on her way back to Kaer Morhen. Well, this can't be good news. And then also in Sintra, we get to see the alliance between the elves and the humans is all but gone at this point. In the last episode, we saw that Francesca gave birth to the first elf child in a long time, but unfortunately the baby is murdered in the middle of the night mysteriously. So it looks like the leader of the elves is pretty much hell-bent on revenge, understandably so this definitely doesn't bode well for the next episode. Also, can I just say that the scene where Fringilla slowly kills Hake, the commander, and the other soldiers, is such an awesome scene. It's disgusting to watch, but man, it's so powerful in my opinion. She uses this potion to paralyze them, basically rendering them helpless while she stabs them to death, or stabs and cuts them to death. And the way she kills Hake in particular is especially gruesome to watch. It's not over the top, but the way she kills him was just painful to me. It was definitely cringeworthy. You'll have to see it for yourself. I don't want to give away too much of that, but yeah, that was definitely a highlight moment. And then of course, even though Cahir is one of the other people that she paralyzes, she does leave him alive to kind of tell the Emperor about what happened. So definitely a pretty interesting and gruesome moment for that. Then just kind of this episode overall was Pretty good. I mean, I shouldn't say pretty good. It was really good. I would still say so far, episodes 5 and 6 are probably the best of the season so far, but this one's still really good. I would probably put this one at maybe right behind 5 and 6. I mean, obviously it's segueing into the final episode, the season premiere of season 2, but it just feels like it definitely feels like compared to the episodes that came before it, other than the setup that it's making, it definitely feels like a little bit, I guess, not quite as exciting, even though there's a lot going on. It's kind of hard to explain. Yeah, I mean, I do feel like the stuff before in the season, I kind of felt like the stuff with Fringilla and Francesca, I wasn't that interested in it, but I do think that they've done a good job of ramping it up, and now it actually does feel like it's coming to a pretty interesting climax. And then the final scene with Yen and Geralt is where they're teleported to where they can actually see the hut that the witch is in, which it's revealed in this episode that she's actually like an ancient demon, and her name is Voleth Mir, which is what the episode's named for. And during her resurrection, we actually see like the hut that she lives in grow like tree legs basically, and rises up out of the ground. And Geralt and Yen watch her basically fly out of there in like a kind of a fiery spirit form. And so, yeah, that was a cool scene to watch. And then Geralt, I think because from his conversations with Yen and also with Jaskier earlier, because Jaskier tells Geralt that Yen recites some spell when he tries to when she teleports away, and Geralt puts the pieces together and realizes that she's working with that witch who is actually like an ancient demon that the first Witchers had sealed away, but now she's been released by feeding off the misery of others. And we've seen Voleth Mir like manipulate the three of the main characters, Francesca, Fringilla, and Yen throughout the season, which they've done a really good job of making her this very creepy, ominous figure throughout the season, which I've definitely enjoyed. As far as like if I think she's going to be dealt with this season or if she's going to continue to be maybe a long-running antagonist throughout the series, I can't say for sure. I'm kind of betting on the former, but I guess we'll see. But that's just sort of my prediction. But seeing the different way that she's corrupted these three characters has definitely been interesting to watch, especially with Fringilla. And then, because basically throughout this season, and especially in this episode, this is kind of the penultimate moment of like Fringilla being fully manipulated by Voleth Mir into killing Hake and the others. Because we see during that scene while she's murdering them, that witch's voice is in her head, echoing in her head, basically telling her to do it and enjoying every moment of it. And then, of course, she's also in Yen's head every step of the way while Yen's trying to deliver Ciri to her. We do at least get to see Yen kind of have sort of a small redemption moment where she decides not to take Ciri all the way to the hut. So that was good at least to see our favorite mage, take the high road and do the right thing, even though she kind of waited until the last minute to do it. But yeah, I mean, just kind of seeing these characters being manipulated by this villain was definitely cool to watch, in my opinion. So I enjoyed that aspect quite a bit. And I'm very curious to see how big of a role she's going to play. I mean, obviously, I assume she's going to be the big main baddie of this season. But like I said before, I'm just curious to know if this is going to bleed into season 3 or even later seasons, and kind of what the overall implications are going to be for Geralt and Ciri long term. I think if I remember correctly from the Witcher 3 game, Ciri is disconnected from Geralt in that game, and has been for a while, if I remember correctly. It's been a few years since I played it, but I feel like Ciri is on her own and Geralt's trying to find her. So that to me indicates that maybe at some point Ciri leaves Geralt and goes to fend for herself. Again, that's the game, and I think the show follows the books more than the games. So, and I know that the author of the books had given CD Projekt Red some shit because apparently the games weren't very good, faithful adaptations of the books. But it's kind of like, I mean, what do you expect, dude? They're games. They're not going to follow books that closely. But regardless, yeah, I'm curious to see if maybe this might lead to Ciri becoming more of a loner, or I guess I'm just curious to see how this is going to impact her character arc altogether. But it seems clear in this episode that, excuse me, I had to burp. I didn't want to do that into the mic. It seems clear in this arc that, or in this episode, that Ciri is now possessed by the witch, or by the demon, I should say. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It's kind of a scary concept because, like I said before, Ciri has all these incredible supernatural abilities, and now the idea of her being possessed by this all-powerful demonic witch lady definitely doesn't bode well for Geralt and company. So, yeah, that's I'm definitely going to be interested to see that. And then, yeah, just a couple of highlights from this episode. Just Geralt and Jaskier being reunited. Again, fantastic. I love these two as a duo, so seeing them together again was definitely great for me. And also, I loved Fringilla's slice and dice scene. That was such a badass scene. Like, again, like I said, it's so gruesome, it's so disgusting, but, like, it's cool to watch. And just the look of sheer horror on Cahir's face while it's happening is just fantastic. And it's a great way to demonstrate like just how much of a schemer she can be, and like despite taking shit from like Commander Hake and the other commanders in Centra, it's cool to see like that there is a line, and that if you cross it, Fringilla will mess you up. So yeah, she's definitely not one to be messed with. So I love the demonstration of power in that regard for her character. That whole scene, like that really caught me by surprise when that was playing. I just remember like watching with just my jaw. Like my jaw just hitting the floor, just like, oh my god, this is awesome. Yeah, maybe I'm a messed up person, but I like scenes like that where you kind of see. Number one, I like seeing douchebag characters like Hake get their comeuppance, but it was just such a great scene to watch for me. Another positive, Jaskier's mouse band. Can we please get more of them? I want to see them in the season finale when I watch that. If I don't see them in that finale, then I am going to be quite upset with this series. Quite upset. Negatives, honestly, really only one, and again, this is kind of me nitpicking a little bit, but when Geralt and Yen are reunited for a second time in this episode, again, it's kind of short-lived. I know bigger things are going on in the story, narratively speaking, but just for the two characters, especially, again, up until this point, up until recently, Geralt thought Yen was dead. And then to kind of be betrayed by her, this woman that he was in love with, I just felt like it should have had more of an impact. I mean, you could definitely see the hurt on his face. You could definitely see like the conflict going on within Geralt, because there's this woman that he has these strong feelings for, but then he also has this fatherly responsibility to protect Ciri. So you can see those two ideals conflicting in his mind. So I get that maybe that's what they were going for in that moment, but still, I wish it could have been a bigger moment there. It kind of feels like it's brushed over, and then to make way for, the main antagonist being revealed. So I suppose I get it. In service of the story, I guess I can understand. But just I personally would have liked to have seen more of an impact from that. Just more of a conflict or confrontation between those two characters. It wasn't anything that like ruined the episode for me, but just something that I would have preferred. But yeah. As far as my overall score for this episode, I'd probably say 9.4 out of 10. Like, really strong, really good overall episode, but just that one little thing, I guess, with Geralt and Yen. And then, yeah, and I guess, I guess we do get to see a few other things happen throughout the episode, too, that were pretty entertaining to watch, too. Like, I loved watching the Yarpen and the other dwarves helping Geralt out. It was cool to see those characters come back, so I guess I'd probably list that as a highlight as well. But yeah, just it's definitely got me excited, and also kind of a little sad because the next episode is the final episode of the season. So definitely curious to see how this is all going to culminate together. It seems like it's leading to a big conflict in Kaer Morhen, since that's where Ciri and Jaskier are heading now. So I assume that means that we're going to see Vesemir come back into the fold. So we'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, definitely a solid episode for sure. And then also too, so kind of a rare moment for this podcast, or at least the first time this is going to happen. Going to do kind of a double feature. So I also had the chance to sit down and watch the premiere of the new of the new season of Attack on Titan, or I guess I should say part 2 of season 4 of Attack on Titan. So yeah, I got to watch it. So season 4, episode 17, titled Judgment. So yeah, I got to sit down and watch this episode the other day, and yeah, so once again, Attack on Titan it's back, and it's back with a vengeance for sure. This snuck up on me. I remember I had heard that it was supposed to come out this year, but I completely forgot about it, I'll be honest. I love Attack on Titan. It's one of my all-time favorite anime series, so I thought that this episode was a really good introduction into the second part, or the second half of season 4. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, and like it pretty much has the stakes are pretty much the highest they've ever been in this series. So like the premiere of the second part of Attack on Titan, I feel like the animation has improved in the new season. Or I keep saying the new season. It's not season 5. It's the new part of season 4. I'm just going to call it the new season. It's basically a new season. It's just easier if I call it that. But yeah. So yeah, it's like I feel like the animation has definitely improved. I'm kind of wondering if maybe like for the budget, maybe they saved it for the second half of season 4. But it definitely seems like it's much better in this one. That was kind of one of my biggest gripes with the first half of season 4 of Attack on Titan, was that it felt like the animation was a little, not bad necessarily, but it felt like it was kind of like they'd cut corners in a few scenes. And in particular, one of the biggest gripes that I've heard with season 4 was the 3D animation for the Titans. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't agree with a lot of those criticisms. I didn't think it was. I mean, I'm not a fan of 3D animation necessarily. I'll always prefer 2D animation. If you ask me for my honest opinion of it. But 3D animation, I think, can be done well. I think if it's used effectively, I think it can work. But I would say by and large, I definitely prefer 3D animation. And especially in a series like this, where the first 3 seasons were 2D animated traditionally, and there was, I think, very little, if any, 3D animation in seasons 1 through 3. It's a little jarring to watch. But I do feel like the 3D animation, at least in part 2 of season 4, is used, at least in this episode, relatively sparingly. Again, it's pretty much it's primarily what the Titan scenes are made of. Like the Titan scenes are primarily 3D animation, but most of the scenes with like the humans and things like that are 2D animation, and they look really good in this episode. Like there's a scene where you see some soldiers jumping out of airplanes, and it's all 2D animation, at least it looks like it, and it's done really well. You see parachutes opening, and just the way it's animated, it seems very fluid and natural, so I enjoyed that quite a bit. But yeah, the 3D animation, it is still distracting in some scenes, especially when you compare this to the utterly spectacular animation of seasons 1 through 3. Like, I still go back and watch the first 3 seasons, and I'm just blown away by how much detail goes into just a few seconds worth of animation. Like, there's one scene in particular, and I'm not going to go too far into this, but there's one scene that one of my favorite scenes in the entire series is when Levi first attacks the Beast Titan. And it's like the very first confrontation those two have. And it's like, I think I heard somewhere that like this entire scene took like a month or 2 to animate, and it's like 10 seconds worth of animation, but it's just Levi just tearing the Beast Titan apart, and it's such a badass scene. It's one of my favorite animated scenes in the entire series. It's definitely cool. Definitely check it out on YouTube. But yeah, I had to go back and watch a recap video of the first part of season 4 just to kind of get ready for this. But I feel like I still had a pretty good knowledge of what had happened up to this point. So yeah, basically just a short recap of this video. Marley's come to Paradise to seek revenge on Eren and his friends for their surprise attack in the last season. Mikasa, Armin, and the others have been held prisoners by the fanatical Jaegerists. Zeke and Levi had a badass fight in the last episode, but it left on a pretty gruesome note. And now it's left Levi pretty much torn up and seemingly on the verge of death. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. So the attack by Marley on Paradise takes up the majority of the episode. That's basically what this episode is. It's just one big giant fight scene. And it's, like I said before, it's clear the stakes are the highest they've ever been in the show. Like, we see people getting slaughtered right and left. Mostly the Eldians, the people in Paradise, like Eren's people. Eren has another showdown with Reiner, the Armored Titan, which once again has Reiner on the defensive. Like, seriously, Reiner, dude, learn to pick your battles, man. Like, I feel like I remember like back in like season 2 when Reiner was like an actual legitimate threat, because that was back when Eren was like kind of getting used to his Titan form and didn't have the best control over it, and he was going up against Reiner, who had the advantage of being the Armored Titan, so he had that extra defense. So it's like Eren couldn't just like overpower him, and he had to actually use his wits to beat him. But now it's like we just see in the first part of season 4, we see Eren basically one-shot Reiner. Granted, you can make the argument that Reiner's heart wasn't in it, and he was kind of distracted because he was kind of suicidal at that point. But still, it's like he pretty much gets just like wrecked by Eren now. So it's like, Reiner, just give it up, man. We do see the Jaw Titan does show up and jumps in to help Reiner out, but Eren has like several Titan abilities. I think the Warhammer Titan's abilities, which I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot that he had that. So he's able to shoot spikes up out of the ground, which in pretty much every direction, which was badass. Like Eren's a freaking unit in this season. It's interesting. That's one thing I want to note about this is, and that's kind of one of the biggest things I've heard about the newest season of Attack on Titan is that it's the change in Eren's character. And it's a pretty noticeable change, especially when you can compare him to how he was in the first 3 seasons. Like, he's definitely not the scrappy underdog we saw previously, where he often had to use his wits to win the fight. Again, the one with Reiner and earlier in the series is a perfect example where, Reiner had a clear advantage over Eren, being at the very least equal in strength to him, but he also had the added advantage of having his armor make him almost, invulnerable, basically, to any conventional attack. So Eren couldn't just rely on his raw power to take Reiner down. Reiner proved, time and again that was pointless. And so Eren had to basically use like kind of a jiu-jitsu style fighting where he had to get Reiner on the ground and get him into submission holds and try to take him out that way. But to be honest, I really enjoyed that part of the first 3 seasons because I think it showed that like Eren had to adapt and grow. But now we see that not only has he grown to the point where he is like, he doesn't need to worry about that, and he's definitely like, he seems like he's constantly in control of the situation, even when he's fighting against 2 different Titans at the same time. Like, Eren definitely seems much more imposing and intimidating, and he's definitely taking on more of a villainous role too. That's one thing that they've done in the previous season, or the first part of season 4, was we see Eren definitely behaving more antagonistically, not just towards Reiner, but also towards like Mikasa and Armin, like the confrontation he has with those 2 in the previous season, where he basically says that Mikasa is a slave who can't think for herself, and that the Ackermans, her family, will always protect Eren's family, or they'll always protect the ones that they're supposed to. It's like genetically programmed into them. Like, we definitely see this cold, calculating, almost machine-like quality to Eren now, to his personality and the way he projects onto people, which it's interesting to see. And I'm going to be honest, and I know I'm probably going to get. I know people out there would probably disagree with me on this, but I do kind of wish I wish we could have seen more of the transition for that. I get that season 4 is supposed to take place several years after season 3, but it would have been nice if we could have at least had some kind of season in between where we could have seen Eren grow into the character that he's become. This is probably mostly just me saying this because I want more Attack on Titan. I'm kind of bummed that we only got 4 seasons. We're only going to get 4 seasons of the entire series. But if you went into Attack on Titan, watched an episode in season 3, and then went straight to season 4 and saw Eren, you would think, like, who is this? This can't be the same character. So I do love Eren's character, and I love that he's taken on more of a villainous role. Excuse me, I had to burp again. But like I said, I wish we could have seen that transition. I'm not going to go too much into that, but yeah, I just wish we could have seen him change into this villainous character, and I just feel like we didn't get to see that. It seems like when we go into season 4, he's already this character. He's already this cold, callous person, and we don't really see that. We don't really see him grow into this, and it's a little disappointing in some respects for me. But I do like his character, and I do think it's handled very well. But anyways, the episode basically ends with the Cart Titan showing up and getting a lucky shot on Eren with this new souped up like cannon, like this anti-Titan cannon, which basically like leaves Eren helpless and unable to defend himself, and Reiner basically is able to land a pretty significant attack on him, which leaves Eren howling his signature roar in agony as the credits roll. And then the episode basically ends right there. So yeah, it's like I said, it's been a little while since I watched Attack on Titan. But I feel like jumping into this episode, it feels like, again, I watched a recap on YouTube, but it just feels like this just hasn't missed any beats. It feels like it's kind of jumping back into a show that I had just watched last week. So I think they did a great job in that regard. Just a few positives on this. I thought this was, a fantastic season premiere. Like I said before, they did a great job of just raising the stakes and letting you, the viewer, know like just how much shit is going down here. The stakes are pretty much the highest they've ever been in this series. Another highlight, I just love watching Aaron slap Reiner around all over the place. Like, I love Aaron does that ability that he has where he hardens up his fists with, like, this crystal armor stuff that, like, can basically smash through Reiner's armor. And he just always just smacks Reiner around with it. We've seen him do it, like, 2 or 3 times now, and it's almost comical to me in a way. Like, I love it. Like I said, Reiner, dude, man, you gotta pick your battles, man. Like, but yeah. Also, like I said, the animation quality has seemed to improve a little in part 2 of season 4. I assume it's probably going to get better as we go along because I know I have read the manga, so I do know what's going to happen in the story. I'm not going to ruin that for anybody just because I don't want to spoil that too much. But yeah, like I do know what's going to happen, so just kind of knowing what I know, I would assume that we're going to see a lot more of the 3D animation just because given what I know is going to happen, I would love to see that animated in traditional 2D animation, but it would be interesting to see how they would do that. But yeah, I mean, I assume that they're going to save some of the higher quality animation for later in the season. So yeah, but like I said, it seems like it's improved. It seems like the 3D animation is used relatively sparingly in this episode, which is good. And what you do see does seem like they tried to at least make it fit into the rest of the background as much as possible. So it's still a little distracting in some scenes, at least in my opinion, but it doesn't ruin it for me, and I enjoy the characters in the story enough that it's not much of a distraction to me. So I personally don't have a big problem with it, but I can see where some people would. So yeah, and honestly, the animation is probably the only really negative thing I have to say about it. Again, and I think my problem with the 3D animation, again, is just because the first 3 seasons were 2D animated. I get it, 3D animation is cheaper, it's easier to do, you can probably pump out a 3D animated show quicker than you can a 2D animated show. Probably a lot faster, actually. But still, it's just like there's scenes in the first 3 seasons. Like there's another great animated scene from season 3 where you see Levi swinging through town when he's being chased by a few villains from his past. And it's such an amazing scene to watch. Again, I can't imagine how much time and effort went into it, but like it's just such a great scene. It's like it's not necessary, you don't need it, it doesn't really add anything to the story, but just the fact that the animators would go that extra mile to put a scene like that in the show, to me, I think just shows, one, the level of care that they have, the level of love and care that they have for the series, and two, just the amount of talent that's clearly working on this. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I don't know if I'm gonna do like episodic review for this season of Attack on Titan, like what I did with The Witcher, just because I'm not sure how many episodes there are going to be. Like if there's like 20, 30 episodes, I don't think I want to do a review for every single one. So what I might maybe do is either a review of like maybe a group of episodes or potentially maybe just a review of the entire season as a whole. Like that's kind of my plan for, at least right now, that's kind of my plan for like whenever I do my review for Midnight Mass, which I do still plan on uploading that, or recording and uploading that at some point in the near future. I do plan on doing a review of Midnight Mass because I really did enjoy that show. But again, that might be episodic, but I think for sure at the very least I'll do like a review of the entire season and give my overall thoughts on that. But like I said, I haven't decided yet as far as if I'm going to do episodic reviews for Attack on Titan or just do a review for the entire season, so we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But yeah, well, that pretty much concludes my thoughts for The Witcher and for the premiere of Attack on Titan. So once again, hope you enjoyed what you heard, and I will catch you guys next time. Later.